Saluton, mi nomiĝas estas Jerio Shadrack. Bonvenon Fuzzy Tutor Facila Esperanto in YouTube. So, today we're going to talk about the fact that Esperanto has only one word for, let's change color here, is, am, it's am, there it is, am, and are, okay? And we're going to look at some examples of Esperanto having only one word for is, am, and are. And real quick, you want to write down that word. That word is estas. And we see that it has the present tense, present verb tense. So we see that estas is a verb, which means esti, because remember when it ends in e, it's to something, to be, right? So est is, whoops, to be. So est, the root, is the essence of something, really. That's how I remember it. So estas is. Estos is future tense, so estos is will be, is, will be. Estus is maybe, right? It may become. Estu, we're telling someone to be, right? And then, of course, estis is it was something, right? So estis, estas, estos, estus, estu, and then esti, to be, right? To be that thing is, am, are. It is, it am, it are, it be, okay? So we see how that works, and that's estas. And that is a verb tense where we're not going to need to, that's a verb that is, I guess you could say transitive, but we're not going to use the accusative ending n, or it's not necessary. If you use it, it will be fine, but it's not necessary. And let's discuss why. Real quick, we'll talk about the word or an, or a or an, which roots from the Saxons, I think ani, which equals the number 1. So when I say a fish or something, I have a fish. Okay, is like saying one fish. Well, if you have a fish, it's obvious that you have at least one, so that coefficient from, to borrow from algebra, is redundant, so we don't need it. Just fish, right? And let's look at what I mean there. So, and we're going to get to why estas doesn't cause us to use the accusative no at the end of the word. So just pay attention here. So or an is equal to essentially 1. So it's redundant. Even though we use it in English, it is not necessary. So imagine if I said 2x plus 3 equals, I don't know, let's say 11. Okay, so 2x plus 3 equals 11. So we can see that 2x is the same as x plus 3, as long as we put this in parentheses, because we have to multiply before we add, so we had to put it in parentheses because you do parentheses first, right, if you're not familiar with algebra. So let's see, so something plus itself plus 3 equals 11, so x is going to be 4, because 4 plus 4 equals 8, plus this 3, right, equals 11. Okay, easy enough. But if I put 1x plus 3 equals 11, x no longer equals 4, x would equal 8 already, but my point is kind of missed on that. What I wanted to focus on is that the 1x is unnecessary. We obviously have an x. There's obviously at least one there. So anything other than 1, we would put a coefficient, which is just the number attached to that variable term. And that's essentially what's happening when we put a or an in front of it. I have a hat. So obviously there's at least one there. If you have more than one hat, you would say I have 2 hats or 3 hats or 4 hats or whatever. But you don't need to say I have one hat. You just have hat. But in English we say we have a hat. In Esperanto, or an is extraneous and we don't need it. So we don't use it. Now, how does that relate to estas not demanding the accusative n? Well, let's look at this practice sentence from your assignments. If I said, mi estas heme. Okay, so we see heme. Right away we see that e ending, and so we know that it is an adverb. Okay, we see here's our verb because we see our tense, right? As. It's present tense. There's our verb. Here is the word for I or me. Mi estas heme. Okay, we didn't say, I guess that's not a noun, so there would be no accusative there, but we can see that we're not going to need it in the next sentence, if not that one. So let's just go ahead and finish this one. I am, because it's going to be am, is, or are, and in this case, am. I am heme. And this is describing what I am. So this is the verb, right? So it's describing it. So at home. Okay? I am at home. I am at home. So because it's an adverb, the at is fixed to it in this case. Okay, so we wouldn't need to say, we'll change that. We wouldn't need to say, mi estas che, which is the word for at, heme. Because it's an adverb, it's already describing this as at home. So this would be redundant. Now you could include that, but it wouldn't be necessary. So now I'm going to give you a better example of why estas is not needed to be associated with the accusative no. So we're going to say lia patro kai mia patro estas en Parizo. Yeah, let's do that. That's one of your sentences. Okay, so we see the root word here is li, which is he. We're using it as an adjective. It's a pronoun. So anytime a pronoun is an adjective, it's in the possessive. That's the only way we can really use a pronoun to describe a noun, right? Or the only way we can use a pronoun as an adjective to describe some other noun is to make it possessive, right? Lia. So lia patros. So that means his. It's the possessive form. His father, patro. And in the Americanized vernacular, or in the American vernacular, we have the word padre from the Spanish. It's pretty common knowledge that that means father. And you can see the connection there for patro. So we see that Latin influence. So his father. Here's one of our sight or sound words, as I call them, where you just need to know them. Kai, en, sur, pli, play, altro, all these, la, they need to be known. It's going to take some time to get them mastered, but they're going to really help you with idea building and sentence building and communicating in general. So this is going to be and, Kai's and. So here we see that adjective, right? And it's being attached to that pronoun again here, me, which is I or me. And if we make that mia, it has to be in the possessive. That's the only way it can be an adjective, so it becomes my or mine. His father and my father, patro, father, same word, right? Lia patro kai mia patro estas en Parizo. His father and my father. This is, are, or am. Okay? Estas. Estas en Parizo. That's in Paris. Okay? So we see lia patro kai mia patro estas en Parizo. So here we can deduce that his father and my father, are we going to use is, are, or am, are in Paris. So why doesn't Paris have Parizon? Parizon. Well, let's look at it. With estas, we don't need the possessive because of the way that estas interacts between the adjective, the verb, if you can call it transitive, and the noun. Okay? So remember, we only use the no if it's transitive. Estas sort of seems transitive, like we're acting on it, but we're talking about the essence of it. We're saying what something is. We're not necessarily acting on it. Okay? And that's why there's no. Letero no. So we see our adjective, our noun, adjective, noun, our verb, and our noun. Okay? And that was one of the sentences that you had to work on. So, all right. Gis la revido.